Tamar Lazarus, my husband Ronald, and to add two more traditions of Friday night. So our tradition at home is that usually if I cook, I don't go to shul. So Dave, the same in your family, will go to shul on a Friday night, and it's very inspiring, elevating, as Ronald said. We get at shul, we have a choir that sings. There's no decorum in shul. It's not like church. Everybody talks to each other. And our rabbi for this Shabbat did a big event at the Gardens Shul. He calls it Friday Night Live, and there's always food involved. And once a month, it's kind of a very festive Friday night, and whiskey, of course. So that's why they were late. They would have been late in any case, but it was a bit later. Yeah, Ronald?
160th anniversary of the Gardens, which is the oldest, the mother synagogue in South Africa. It's the 160 years today.
So talking about tradition and what Liz said before, you can incorporate everything. You can go to shul and have a Friday night and come all the way. So we're happy to do it. Okay. And because it's Friday night and because it's Shabbat, we have another tradition. Every Shabbat, during the day of Shabbat, we read a portion from the Bible. We read what we call Parashat HaShavua, the portion of the week. And the portion of the week for this Shabbat is called Ki Tavo, when you will come to the land of Israel. That's the name of this parasha. That it's wonderful that it's this Shabbat, and basically that portion of the chapter in the Bible, it's written. It's gives all the details of what will happen when you get to the land of Israel, the promised land, and that you have to keep all the mitzvot, all the commands that are in the land of Israel, so you will be blessed. That is this week's parasha that is read, and it's very connected to you, Liz, and all our weeks of friends, because why do we sit in South Africa and fundraise and do activities for WITO in Israel? WITO has federations around the world, and you have the same volunteers doing it around the world, because we got blessed with the land of Israel. By this is where we need to be. A lot of our commands, we can only do them in the land of Israel. And for that, we need to secure that land. And the reason that our founding mothers, WITO mothers, came to Israel and saw this barren land, and they saw so many women that are there without families, battling to bring up families, being part of this new dream of a state. And they created this organization, it's Women International Zionist Organization, that they looked at what is the future of the country, any country. And it's your children, it's education, it's your children, and it's your human rights. And who brings up the children in a home is a mother. A mother will make sure that she will feed those children, keep them safe. She won't go to work. She will look after the children while the man of the house, please God, works and brings food to the house and brings security. But many of them in Israel, some came from Europe as a result of the anti-Semitism, some believing in the dream of Israel, were alone in a country that is very different to what is. And the three amazing women, and we just finished Women's Month, that is very appropriate. The strength of the woman, one was a pediatrician, one was a feminist, and one was an educationist. And to have that three of them together, the pediatrician was Vera Weizmann, that her husband was the first president of the State of Israel, saw the dire need to look after the babies. WITO started the first baby clinic, were called Tipat Chalad, a drop of milk. They literally brought milk, the central point, and mothers can come and give milk to the babies. Wow. And teach women how to bring up the children with the environment that is there, what there is. The she was a pediatrician, and she made sure that there are systems put in to help the children. The feminists saw the need to educate women to be a par with the men, to be part of this struggle and bring up the land of Israel. So they need skills. You need skills to be there. So they open agriculture schools. You know, all the kibbutzim that later on became in Israel. The women were taught agriculture skills in those schools. They were taught other skills that they can be part of the labor force in the country. Maybe they couldn't build roads or do physical hard work, but they could do and contribute to the society just as much as the men and be part of this amazing vision of the land of Israel, of the country. And then the third was education. And we know if we won't educate our youth, educate our children and our youth, we don't have a future. And that's where the daycare centers came, the schools, and the vocational schools that WITSA created. So the minute the mother knows that a child is fed, clothed, and educated, only then will she go and look at herself and say, what can I do to improve myself, to make a career for myself, or to build a life out of the house. And that's how the organization started. And it was supported by countries all over the world. South Africa joined in as well. And each country has specific projects that we fundraise to support in Israel. And South Africa had many more when our rand was slightly different to what it's now. But we have daycare centers, so we have a very large daycare center in Tel Aviv opposite the Ichilov Hospital, and that's a daycare center that during wartime operates 24 hours a day. So the staff, the medical staff at the hospital can bring their children at any time, day or night, to be looked after. What do you do with a child when you have to run during the wartime and you have to go in the middle of the night? That will operate 24 hours a day. And we have in Herzliya five homes, foster homes, for children that are there by court order. South Africa started in 1950, I can't remember the year, a home for children, say foster or orphaned, in Tel Aviv. For many years, it was like an orphanage, and it was not only home there, it was a school for nurses, pediatric nurses, and the many children that were there were children that the parents could not look after them for whatever reason. Some children, if you think of that in the 50s, we had survivors of the Holocaust coming to Israel, and many people emotionally and psychologically battled as a result of the trauma, and there were children there. And as a result of that orphanage, WITSA was presented in UNICEF, in the United Nations, because UNICEF is an organization that looks at children in war zones and strife areas. And WITSA presented this home that was a South African built and sponsored to be presented in UNICEF. With time, things change, and orphanages are not considered the right place for children, and that closed, and we opened 5 homes in Herzliya that has 4 foster children there, that are there till they finish school, till they go to the army, and they go to the neighborhood school. They live in homes that don't look like an institution. They have foster parents that are angels, because a lot of them come with a very traumatic background, and that's we sponsor that. And the other project we have that we help sponsor donation to, that we collect, is Beit HaLochem. It's the sport and rehabilitation centers for wounded soldiers and victims of terror in Israel. and their families. So it's a place for them to come and rehabilitate, both as a family, both physically, and all our paraplegic sport champions come from those centers. So that is WITO. So back to Liz. More than just the WITO, I met her at the day, I think one of the first meetings we had was during one of the operation in Israel where there were rockets sent all the way to Jerusalem. And I got a phone call via Felicity that Liz has a painting that she couldn't sleep all night because she was so traumatized with what's going on in Israel. And she said, I have this painting that was commissioned and now wasn't taken. It's a huge painting of Jerusalem. And she changed it and she said, I want to give it as a love token to what's going on in Israel. And can't you think maybe it will be in the Garden Shul and we'll be in the center? And we came to visit you. And I looked at the painting and I said to Liz, this painting has to go where it belongs to. It's a painting of Jerusalem and it has to go to Jerusalem. Yeah. And we sent it to Jerusalem. Luckily, we had a friend that was just sending a container to Israel. And that painting is still standing in one of the first WITO projects in Israel in Kerem. It's a school, a daycare center, a shelter. It's a huge area. And they have everything there, and it's displayed in the entrance hall of Beta Kerem. So Lizzie, you were there, and to have Liz with us in Israel 4 years ago at the conference was absolutely incredible. And through you, we met so many amazing people. So it wasn't when Liz said it's Friday night, and yes, we're home, and we have children, and I said, I will come. For me, this is like being with family. And so thank you all for being here. And she is an amazing teacher, Jane too. You are a special couple, and you're a special couple to all of us. Yes. And that's why we are all so happy, and I can speak on behalf of all of us. Yeah, you see, luckily I have my support here. We're all so happy to be here, and I know they said to us remind me about another project that we do here. So I told you all about in Israel, but we live in this country, and we have to be part of the society. It's all very nice, and we can't be blind to what's going on here. And any of the values that we see that we want to implement there, we want to do here too. So I don't know if you heard from Lizzie, but anywhere that anybody wants help, they would do. So one of the things was the Delta School vegetable garden. Wherever we can help, we go there at the school that they plant vegetables, use it they feed the 400, or at least, well, more than 400 meals, 700 meals of children that go to school to supplement the kitchen. So wherever we can help there, we go and help there. We have a lady called Mama Miki in Kalicha that has a daycare, a creche that we try, and she feeds the elderly. We try and help. And the other thing is we brought from Israel is Israeli designed wheelchairs for children, very light. It's only 10 kilos, and it is suitable for kids from the age of 5 to 8. And we donate those. We had them donated. We bought them through donations, and we brought them to South Africa, and we donate them to children or hospital organizations that have the children that need them. So that's our way to be part of the needs here in this country. So that's it.